Thank you for tuning into the Eld Henderson Real News Show, issues, views, and solutions. The Eld Henderson Real News Show is designed for you to listen, learn, and invest your knowledge and skills in your community. The show's format will be clear and direct. Each show will identify a problem. It will determine who benefits from the problem. The show will also determine who is the victim. And finally, we will show you how to create a prioritized action plan for success that can change your life, family status, and community in 30, 60, 90 days guaranteed. The Eld Henderson Real News Show will identify, address, and teach you how to resolve problems in education, economics, politics, religion, community development, and local, state, national, and international affairs. So I want you to stay tuned for the Eld Henderson's Real News Show. Hello, viewers. This is Eldridge Henderson from the Eld Henderson Real News Show. Part of being successful is dressing for success. This is why I want to tell you about Pennywise Cleaners, who's been serving the Southwest Jackson community for over 3 years at 4590 Raymond Road in Jackson, Mississippi. Pennywise delivers friendly service with a smile. Whether drop-off, drive-through, or delivery, Pennywise has got you covered. All work is done on-site using state-of-the-art equipment to keep you sharp and clean. A penny saved is a penny earned. At Pennywise Cleaners, located at 4590 Raymond Road, Jackson, Mississippi. For more information, the number is 601-372-0097. Pennywise Cleaners is a proud sponsor of the Eld Henderson's Real News Show. Mankind.
Yes.
Those are the people that the oppressors usually promote by their evil deeds and their violence against the people that they suppressed in the past and at the present.
Right.
They have a real good rule, which I'll go into on another show, where they tell you what to do,
right,
expect you to do it,
right,
and if you don't, you will get punished.
Yes, sir.
Economically, politically,
That's
educationally,
right. Yes.
religiously,
That's right,
and socially.
That's right.
And if you protest, they enjoy that because
right.
the human enemies of mankind want their prisoners of war, which are basically blacks and other minorities and people of color,
right.
to pray, demonstrate,
right.
protest, march, but never boycott.
That's right, that's right, that's right. Matter of fact, it's illegal in many cases to use that word, boycott. But the reality of solving the problems is that has to be one of the weapons or one of the tools that is used to gain economic community control once you lack it. That's why there's a such place as Little Italy. That's why there's a such place as Koreatown and a Chinatown and Little Vietnamese, even Little Haiti. You know, Haitians are black people. Haitians came from the island of Haiti. They didn't even come on a boat. They came on broken rafts, the raft people. They came over on inner tubes. Many of them barely got here. Those who got here have set up on the coast of Florida, and now they got 5 banks. 5 banks from the Little Haitians. So it's not just an issue of whether you're black or not. It's about the type of consciousness you have towards wanting to be free. And unfortunately, most of black leadership, especially black eldership, unfortunately, have yet to conquer their fear of freedom.
Wait a minute, Mr. Mosley. Now here you are, you condemning certain people again in what I call a negative manner, even though you're 100% correct. Let me tell you something about those Haitians. You know, the Haitians are what we call the other group that believed in freedom.
Yes, sir.
And they're the only group I know in the history of the world during the last, I would say, 700 years that fought for their independence and beat the strongest army in the world during the time of Napoleon and his boys. Those so-called black slaves and mulattoes got together, beat the French, and ever since that day, the poor folks in Haiti has been condemned, and the Western nations of the world and the Europeans say we will never give those folks a chance to be independent again. We're going to continue to invade them with poor economics, disease, and other natural things that the Lord is going to put on them. And when it happens, we're not going to go there and rebuild. Now that is bad. That's a condemnation that I wouldn't even want to address in public, but I'm going to give the word to you. That is the real fact.
That's right. I mean, if the Haitians have enough good sense to do business with themselves first and foremost, and then through that process over time, they end up building up their own independent businesses that they themselves support. And then over time, they're able to create mutual aid societies or credit unions, which become banks that they control. Then, I mean, you're talking about a recipe for success. So if somebody said that they want to see a model, you can go and look at Little Haiti right now, because they're black. They are black,
okay.
and they were oppressed, and they are minorities, and they have a history of enslavement. But the difference is they were not over here, and they didn't have their lobotomized. They weren't lobotomized, right?
Okay.
Their brains weren't taken out.
Now look at this, Doctor. You are saying Haitians. You must be talking about here in America, in Miami.
That's right.
Or
The Haitians who came to Florida.
Because I do know those Haitians over there in the real nation of Haiti are under certain severe conditions,
yes,
economically, socially, and politically, because of all of those so-called charities over there that have different agendas.
Yes, sir.
And they are getting millions of dollars throughout the world to go over there and help people, and they still don't have a sewage system in the whole nation. You have electricity about 2 hours a day.
Yes, sir.
Running water is something that you only have if you're in the upper middle class or rich, and the rest are living in tents, cardboard boxes, and sewer pipes.
If they're fortunate.
That's right. I hate to be so hard on our folks.
No, it's very true. You're
true.
citing a very harsh reality of what's going on with us in Haiti and also here in America. And you don't have to be in Haiti to have these experiences of impoverishment and oppression. Paulo Freire writes about this in Pedagogy of the Oppressed, what's needed for those who are oppressed to liberate themselves, which is a whole different type of education. And if we leave economic community control out of that, if we leave the building of a black business infrastructure out of that, if we leave supporting quality black-owned businesses first and foremost, especially in groups of 7 or more, if we leave that out of that education, we're right back in a state of dependency.
Brother David, that sounds like you're talking about the good information out here about respect your black dollar.
Yes,
but
sir.
now that is not happening in America. When will the black folks and the so-called colored folks or the Negroes or whatever you want to call yourself going to do it? Should they start in America?
Well, they should have started many years ago, like when Richard Allen opened up the AME Church, and it was not opened up as a church, it was opened up as a mutual aid society. So some kind of way when the African Methodist Church was still African, and the African Baptist colony and church was still African, and the African Lodge that is now called the Prince Hall Lodge was African, some kind of way back then they understood the need to support each other first and foremost. As we advanced up and got through the closer to the Depression, the greatest age of black entrepreneurship and businesses was actually right before the Depression, right when black folks was being lynched left and right. And so we have multiple examples of success here in America with economics, but as we got closer, further and further away from an African identity, and we start to embrace some of the other ways of our oppressor, the worse we got in terms of dependency.
Okay, Brother David, now in just a few minutes we're going to take a break, and we have to come back and talk about solutions now.
Yes, sir.
We're going to start right here in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
We then will move into the other part of the state and then probably go national.
Yes, sir.
So get ready to tell me what the so-called neglected, unwanted, non-citizens who think they are citizens,
right,
who are 3/5 of a man,
yes, sir,
regardless of what propaganda you hear and read about in the Constitution, and it says just that,
right,
regardless of what they say in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. I'm going to tell you there must be some solutions. And your job today is to tell us what they are. And I want you to tell me, starting with the preachers, what they need to do, what the ministers should do, and let's go with the people, the politicians, and the corporate leaders. Do you think you can feel free on this public show to be specific and tell us what those different components need to do and what they need to put together and get so-called freedom where there's equity and cooperative economics in the state of Mississippi, the nation, and the world? You think you can do that?
In 7 minutes or less, yes, I can do that.
Wonderful, man. I tell you, you're a genius. That's
Yes,
why,
I'm working on it.
That's why when we finish, I'm going to invite you to my office and give you a doctorate degree
Yes.
in politics.
That's right. I need it, man. I need
tell you,
to solve all these problems in 7 minutes or less.
Right. But I'm going to be nice to you. I'm not going to give you any pay along with it. You just have to go out there and make your own money. That's what you got
like
to
Dr.
do.
McCune.
That's right. That's where it
You eat
goes.
what you kill.
We will be back with our guest, Mr. David Mosley. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning into the Eld Henderson Real News Show, Issues, Views, and Solutions. The Eld Henderson Real News Show is designed for you to listen, learn, and invest your knowledge and skills in your community. The show's format will be clear and direct. Each show will identify a problem. It will determine who benefits from the problem. The show will also determine who is the victim. And finally, we will show you how to create a prioritized action plan for success that can change your life, family status, and community in 30, 60, 90 days guaranteed. The Eld Henderson Real News Show will identify, address, and teach you how to resolve problems in education, economics, politics, religion, community development, and local, state, national, and international affairs. So I want you to stay tuned for the Eld Henderson's Real News Show. The Action Leadership Institute has office space for rent at North Jackson off I-55 South at 5435 Executive Place Office Park, located in a high-traffic count area. There are 4 offices available, 1 office space, 650 square feet, 3 offices, 150 square feet each. All are available today with first month free and deposit. Ideal spot for established businesses and startups such as law and tax offices, insurance companies, boutiques, counseling centers. Again, the address is 5435 Executive Place Office Park, shown by appointments only. The number is 601-201-1957. Viewers, thank you for staying with us. My guest today is Mr. David Mosley, a community activist, a political aspirant. He will be running for public office in a few years. And of course, he is directing the Kwanzaa activity for this year in Jackson, Mississippi. So David, we were going to talk about some solutions to the so-called black and colored problems of the world, starting right here in Jackson. Right. We then will move into the state of Mississippi totally, and probably throughout the United States and the world. Now, you are ready?
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you something. I want you to start right here in Jackson. What should the politicians be doing to eliminate the economic, educational, social, and religious problems that's prevailing all over this city and causing economic distress, disunity, and a lack of self-esteem that's being generated among the people of this city and the state? What is the solution, sir?
Well, first, it begins with renewing and a changing of one's mind. It takes institutions to change the behavior patterns of the masses of the people. And unless the institutions in the black community reorient themselves towards a Pan-African orientation or adopt an African-centered perspective, then you're going to have a bad situation, because the views and values that are necessary to encourage a person to change for the better will be absent.
Hold on.
No economic plan, no matter how well out it's written, will work if the people who are dependent continue to worship their oppressor. It's not going to work.
I hate to just break in on you, David, but now you want to get me upset by telling me that the institutions in Jackson, Mississippi, and the nation, and these other agencies and groups are supposed to be doing certain things. I don't see it happening in the church. It is not happening in the politics of this city and the nation.
That's very true.
It's most certainly not happening in the corporate entities throughout the state of Mississippi and the nation.
That's true.
So who is doing what, and who should be doing what specifically?
Well, most mainstream groups are afraid to identify with the divinity within their own selves, and they don't promote that with their constituents either. And so as a result, you maintain the dependency relationship and mindset. And if you do not shake that, then you're not going to be free. You have to at least be able to imagine yourself being free in your own mind, controlling the economics of your own community in your own mind before you can ever put it out there on the streets. I mean, why do you even need a group called Respect Our Black Dollars in a city that's 80% black? unless the minds of the people are messed up.
Well, let me tell you now, I'm going to answer that for you. A lot of people are not going to like this, but the reason you have the Respect Your Black Dollar group in Jackson is because the majority population in Jackson, which is black, and the Real News is 91%. Some say 80%, we know better. Some say 87%, but I've done the research. It's because they still look at themselves as minorities instead of in the majority. And sometimes these old politicians and corporate leaders will say, we are in the minority,
right,
and you blacks not going to get but 5% of these contracts. Then they pay off certain people, and then when they get ready to get more, the contract then is put in a committee, and they're going to study it again and again, review it and review it, hoping the citizens will forget about it. And one night on the news, you will hear that a certain group that lives or operates out of New York City got a contract for $15 million, and that's what happens in most cities.
Yes,
and the reason is something that I'm going to discuss in a few minutes. Would you agree or disagree?
You're hitting the nail on the head. You're talking about political shenanigans that's based on people getting paid off for their own personal interests, sacrificing the collective interests of the people that they're supposed to serve and represent.
Now, I didn't say that, David. I didn't say someone getting paid off.
I did.
You sure did. But now you want to be specific and say they are not actually being paid off illegal. They are being paid off as a good citizen effort.
Well, you can get paid legally and illegally.
Of course.
And either way, you're still your service is detrimental to the interests of your constituents.
That's right. But
because what makes good financial sense does not always make good economic sense. And that's why Koreans, Chinese people, and other groups who gain control over certain market shares, whether you're talking about hair, you're talking about fuel stations, you're talking about anything that black people love, they will not sell those things to black people because they understand that even if you can offer them more money, that makes good financial sense. It's not good economic sense because they want to maintain control of that industry that black people continue to depend upon.
Well, let me tell you, you would do the same thing.
Yes, I would.
If you control the economic power, if you control the education system, if you control the churches, you would want David Mosley to be the decision maker.
That's correct.
And you would want the others to be the order takers.
That's right.
That's the way it goes in America.
Right. That's right.
We call that free enterprise.
That's right.
Some people call it capitalism,
even though it doesn't
which
exist.
Means something else.
Even though free enterprise doesn't truly exist.
Of course not.
The last thing that a person who says they want free enterprise wants is true free enterprise. What they want is a monopoly. And they want to monopolize it or have a gangster cabal with 2 or 3 businesses that are all in cahoots, and each one of them gets their space and their share. But I'm quoting Amos Wilson, Blueprint for Black Power. You know, common sense to a Negro is considered a radical thought.
Come on here
all right?
now.
And so Amos Wilson digs in, and anyone who gets a hold of Amos Wilson and becomes a part of that knowledge can't help but to become more solution-oriented.
Well, now, you can't talk too much about Mr. Wilson. You know, he was a genius, and he died early.
Yes.
All these geniuses, Wilson, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and all those jokers just happened to die early, and they call it dying for the cause. Wow. I call it being assassinated by the human enemies of mankind.
That's accurate.
That's accurate?
Yes.
You mean I'm correct on this issue for
once in a while? Apparently you've read your Bible. Seems like every time the messianic figures, the people who find Christ within them, tap into their black divinity, seems like when they turn the money tables over, death is going to soon follow.
Well, now, I'm a long ways from a prophet, but we're not going to worry about that. Well, Mr. Mosley, let's look at something that's being neglected and most people are afraid to talk about, and that's the lack of education in the black community that's being controlled by blacks. Even though they're in the so-called majority, they don't control not one school in the state of Mississippi, even though the school board in the so-called black counties are 98% black. The money is coming from so-called local sources, which don't exist. And then they have to depend on state money and federal money, and that's when that dependency turns against them. Well, tell me why that is happening.
Well, I can't speak towards every aspect of that within the short amount of time that we have. But what I can speak towards is some activities that are taking place to help alleviate some of the worst aspects of a miseducation and a miseducational process with an economic component. And that is a celebration called Kwanzaa. And as you know, we've just celebrated last night, which you were a great part of, and we had a wonderful night with a wonderful crowd. And Kaba Kamini Hiawatha, also known as Booker T. Coleman, from the Hidden Colors movies, and I hope that more people will check out the Hidden Colors series and be enlightened. Came on out, and we got 3 more nights of Kwanzaa, and the theme is 25 years of celebration of an African-centered education for liberation. And unless you have a liberation-oriented education, like Paulo Freire says in Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and is also pointed out by Carter G. Woodson in Miseducation of the Negro, and in Colonizer and the Colonized by Alfred Mimi, you learn that unless you have a education for liberation, oftentimes you maintain the same cycle of dependency that has been laid down by your oppressors. Oh. If there's not a back door, you'll go create one.
Didn't Mr. Woodson say that?
Yes, he did. He said, in other words, you're going to maintain backwards behaviors because you've been programmed to. And until you choose to reprogram yourself, which Jesus talks about that too, right? Be ye renewed by the be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? And once you transform your mind from enslavement and dependency towards freedom and interdependency towards independence, then you have the opportunity to help a whole community be free, not just individual salvation, but collective salvation.
Okay, Mr. Mosley, you're saying that we love to hate ourselves. We love to maintain the status quo.
Unfortunately.
We believe that the human enemies of mankind are our best friends.
And our gods.
Oh, come on here. You're going to make me get a religion, man.
Hold on
I've
now.
been practicing Hendersonism. You want me to believe in some of this stuff?
Didn't you watch the Dukes of Hazzard?
I did.
Didn't you know about the General Lee card?
Of course.
All right. Didn't you know?
Let's don't get it.
Didn't you know about Daisy Duke and Cooter?
Of course.
And Bo and Luke Duke?
Of course.
You were worshiping your oppressor. Didn't even know it.
Well,
if you like that show, you were worshiping your oppressor.
Well, I didn't know any better then. I would look at it every now and then.
We can't help it.
That's right.
My great auntie, who was a black Indian, she would root for the Cowboys in the Cowboy and Indian show on the black and white 13-inch TV that she had in the kitchen. She rooted for the Cowboys even though our family, that side of her family, got ran out of Oklahoma and ran out of Texas over economics, by the way, ran out by white folks, and she still rooted for the Cowboys.
Let me tell you, you make me think about those old Tarzan movies where I'm not going to say that I'm guilty in the past for that mess, but I used to see that movie.
Yes.
And sometimes I thought old Tarzan's supposed to be the winner, man.
Supposed to be the winner.
And I've been embarrassed about that since I found out better. And a lot of people still think that today.
Can you imagine watching those movies, watching those films, watching those TV shows right now and still having the same mentality that Tarzan is supposed to win, that there's nothing wrong with not being no black people in Hazard County, that there's nothing wrong with, in essence, the worship of your oppressor? Now that you know better, we're supposed to do better, right?
That's right.
And if the ministers and the politicians and the professionals do not come up with a better economic game plan than the dope boy, then our group of people, our race, is doomed to the toilet bowls of existence.
I guarantee you.
But we can rise if we so choose.
We can. Let me tell you what's going to happen to the solution is what you said. Economic development.
That's right.
Collective agreements with the churches and others.
That's right.
What we call coalition building, unification among the so-called race on the local, state, and national level. And as I conclude, I just want to tell you, too, the other thing we're going to have to look at is creating businesses. Every young person in America, especially those in the depressed communities that call themselves minorities, ought to have 2 businesses by the time they are 18 years of age. Every black college and university ought to be teaching the students and making mandatory for them to start businesses before they get that so-called bogus BS degree that's not going to help for 10% of the people. I have the research to show that only 10% of the minority students that finish college get a job in their area. 90% don't get a job in their area. They get a BS degree and work for Kentucky Fried as a shift leader. And then you find that out of that group, only 30 to 49% finish college in 6 years. Over 51% flunk out, drop out, or stop out for various reasons, and one is financial need. And there are many other things.
Wow.
But since we don't have but 2 minutes to end this show, we have at least 2 days of activity.
That's right.
To do what we're going to do.
That's right.
And I'm going to have to get you back, Mr. Mosley. You talk about how the officers that's here in the audience, we have an audience here, and our listeners can contact you. Tell the folks how to contact you because you have several nights left
That's
with
right.
Kwanzaa, where it's located, how they can call you, and what's going to be offered there during
Yes,
that
sir.
time.
Yes, sir. At the Mega Edwards Community Center on 3159 Edwards Avenue from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's the Mega Edwards Community Center near Cade Chapel Church. Please show up for the next 3 nights. The Nation of Islam will be hosting one of the nights. Also, Arts Classical will be hosting, and also Jackson Firefighters Limited. You can go to Jackson Community Kwanzaa Celebration on Facebook, or give a call to 601-608-8327. And as you do, you might want to come check out Umar Johnson, nationally certified school psychologist. You can come check out many of the other artists, poets, dancers. It's going to be an exceptional 3 more nights. It's an honor to be sitting here before you, and it's wonderful to tap into our black divinity as we stand on the shoulders of greatness and those who have come before us.
Well, you have vendors there, sir?
Yes, sir, we do have vendors.
What are they selling?
Oh man, all type of stuff to uplift your black divinity. Soaps and oils and paintings and clothes and the whole 9.
Do they have any Bibles there?
We're not afraid of the Bible. We ain't afraid of Jesus either. But we have to see it in the right way.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap this up, Brother David. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today, since you're what I call the local community activist and genius. And that's why I told you earlier that we're going to have to just get you elevated and give you that certificate of appreciation and make you a local doctor.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
And when you do that, your speaking fee will be $5,000 per hour, and I want you to take advantage of that. And we are going to be considerate. All we want is 25% of whatever you make starting in December.
Well, you will have earned
2016.
You will have earned it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So let's just say good luck to you.
Yes, sir.
And I hope you have happy Kwanzaa.
Yes, sir. Happy Kwanzaa to you as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir.
Viewers, that's it. The end of the Eld Henderson's Real News Show. Stay tuned for next week. We'll be back. Same time, same station.
So there's blame to go around on all levels. Students bearing the least brunt of that responsibility because they are there to learn. Of course, we have some students who don't come to learn, but that's because the parents have not instilled in them the value of education. Right now, the threat level from terrorism to the United States is extremely high. And white males in America are convinced that they need a man in the presidency in order to reduce that threat.
Now, who is that man then?
Right now, it would, in my mind, it would be Bernie Sanders. But in the minds of the people who are the more influential in this community, I think it's going to be Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States.
The Action Leadership Institute has office space for rent at North Jackson off I-55 South at 5435 Executive Place Office Park, located in a high-traffic count area. There are 4 offices available, 1 office space, 650 square feet, 3 offices, 150 square feet each. All are available today with first month free and deposit. Ideal spot for established businesses and startups such as law and tax offices, insurance companies, boutiques, counseling centers. Again, the address is 5435 Executive Place Office Park, shown by appointments only. The number is 601-201-1957. Hello, viewers. This is Eldridge Henderson from the Eld Henderson Real News Show. Part of being successful is dressing for success. This is why I want to tell you about Pennywise Cleaners, who has been serving the Southwest Jackson community for over 3 years at 4590 Raymond Road in Jackson, Mississippi. Pennywise delivers friendly service with a smile, whether drop-off, drive-through, or delivery. Pennywise has got you covered. All work is done on-site using state-of-the-art equipment to keep you sharp and clean. A penny saved is a penny earned. At Pennywise Cleaners, located at 4590 Raymond Road, Jackson, Mississippi. For more information, the number is 601-372-0097. Pennywise Cleaners is a proud sponsor of the Eld Henderson's Real News Show.